Hello, friends. Welcome back. I think there is one small piece that needs a little bit of discussion, and that is the adaptive cards, right? So, whenever we build bots using the Microsoft framework, and you want to show some custom content, and you want to have a custom layout, and you want to do something fancy, that's where the adaptive cards comes into play, right? There are some simple text messages, and all those things can be easily put in, like say this one, right? It's very simple. You have a prompt, and then you can send simple messages back to the front end. So that's not a big deal. It makes sense for most of the use cases. But the final step, or some kind of customization, or something like this, right, where you want to show the individual data sets in a more presentable format, maybe as a carousel, or maybe you want to have like images, or you want to have like videos in embedded format. So that's where you will need some kind of a card, which is called adaptive card, right? So Microsoft has done a good job in giving like this designer, which is called the adaptive card designer, and you can use that to design your cards, right? So for instance, like it's a adaptive cards io.designer, that's the URL, and you can actually go there, and it is a pretty cool interface where you can see all these individual elements that you can kind of pull, drag and drop into your payload, and this is like the structure. You have an adaptive card, and then you can see there's like a text block up for, on the top, and then you have a column set with two columns, and then you have first column here, second column here, and you can put images and etc. So this is like the structure of how you would assemble your UI, and that is exactly how it would show when you paint the screen, right? So what I have done is actually done the entire payload, and then I played around with it, fixed all of my things. So I'll just show you what would happen if you want to build it from scratch. So this is the adaptive card. So when I'm pulling the results back on the screen, the final search, what I am doing is I'm creating an adaptive card JSON object. So in the JSON object, you can see here, right? I have a bunch of %ss, and I'm using the Java find like the string manipulation to go and replace certain elements at my location wherever I want it, right? So that's exactly what's happening. So for every card here, if you see here, it starts off with a column, and then it has two columns. It has like a text block, bold, and then another text block, right? So if you kind of map that back here to this one, that is this one, right? So and then this is the second column where we get the image. So and then there is a big block, then there is a big trailer block, and then there are three link blocks, right? So all of that is represented in JSON format, kind of like this. So if you see here, this was the first column, two blocks, and then there is another column with the image, and then there is a text block with the media of a video, and then you can take actions. These are called actions, and then you're opening three different URLs, and then you're putting them on the screen, right? So what happens is, if you copy this entire thing, then go back to the designer. So because you cannot obviously just say it will work perfectly fine. So what you do is you copy that, delete it, and then you paste your module, right? I mean your JSON payload, and then it'll complain saying, "Hey, it's 1.5 because we have said it's 1.3. Just switch back to 1.3." And now you can kind of see, since the URLs are all bad, it's not working. But you can actually substitute URLs. So like there's another piece of the code which takes the ID and then goes through and then figures it out. But ignoring all of that, right? So if you were to take these individual URLs and put them in correctly, in this section you would actually see the entire thing in action. So you would see this section very similar to what this section looks here on the actual image. So if I were to take this exact field, stick that in there, take the URL of that image and stick it in there, in the video of the URL of the video, etc., and all these three links. Once I do all of that, this whole thing will look exactly like this here. So this is like a way of making sure that your UI piece works just perfectly fine, and that is what you will use in the code. So you can see, right, three things came. Of course it won't link because all the urls are blank. uh, but that is kind of how I wanted to show you that piece where the adaptive cards is a very significant area, because I'm pretty sure any project will have some kind of customization built in, and where you will have to understand what the layout is, and maybe present something in a little bit more presentable format than just some text blocks, right? So that's the important piece. So once you have this JSON object, how do we actually? This is exactly Microsoft code. This is nothing that we have done. I mean, I have done specifically. So this you can see. This is the adaptive card builder. So if you see it here, this is all fake, but I couldn't figure out how to get the actual trailers. I'll work on that maybe if I can find something. It was very complicated to get it from the IMDb site using the ID. It has some special like AWS keys or whatever, and I couldn't get to it. But maybe if I can get to it, I can make it all work together. So all I'm doing here is I'm getting attachment. There's a concept of attachment. You create a new attachment, then you load the JSON that we have created into the uh, input stream, right? And then what you do is you get all the details for every movie. So basically this is the movie, right? You're building a card for the movie. So you'll pass the movie, you get all the input fields like what is the IMDb ID, what is the IMDb reviews, what is the title of the blood, for the video gallery, etc. We get all of that, right? And then this is something which has, if the image is not there, just use some fake image. Otherwise, you use the real image. And then video URL is also blank. I'm using a fake video, right? And you can customize all this to be whatever you want, and you can load it from wherever you want. So once you do all of that, you basically have a string dot format, and this is where I'm passing all the individual placeholders. Wherever there's percentage s, this will be actually replacing it with a placeholder. But only one thing to remember is you need to escape for JSON, because the taglines, titles now may have weird characters in place, and if that is the case, then the card will break and you'll get a big error on the screen. So just one caveat there, but other than that, I think it will just load that, um, and it will display it in the format you want. So if we can figure out the trailer URL, trailer image URL, and the trailer video URL, then this would actually work perfectly. But it looks like it's a little bit complicated to get all that information from IMDb. So that's why I didn't spend too much time on it. So, but at the end of the day, this is how a custom layout is coming, right? So each of these is an attachment, and if you want to show multiple attachments, if you don't do anything and then you attach everything to the response, it will just come like a stream of data, like it just scrolls on and on. If you want a better interface, you have something like a carousel object. So that is kind of what is happening here. We are sending this as a carousel. So if you go back to the search dialog, right? If you remember my last video, the dialog is where all the magic happens. And if you kind of go back to the summary step, right? So perform search step, we did the search, we got all the data, and then see this is where the attachments come into play, right? So we have for every movie, we create the adaptive card using the movie adaptive card builder, right? The one which I showed you right just now, and it will get the attachment and add it. So once you do that, this is where the magic happens, the carousel magic happens. So when you're attaching multiple attachments, what do you want to really show? Show it as a carousel or a list, etc. You can do any of those. So that is hopefully helpful, and kind of gives you an idea how to build a little bit more kind of nice looking like a bot. So this is only 5 rows, but if you imagine, right, if it is 1, 2, 3, it's a little bit more, then you can have really this can really scroll well, and it will show you. So I hope this is helpful, and hope you like it. Thank you.